This is going to be the story of the NHL offseason. Which team is going to be lucky enough to draft Connor Bedard? We've been talking about this guy for over a year. He just put up 23 points in 7 games at the World Juniors. He's not even 18 years old just yet, but he could be certainly a generational talent. So I thought it'd be fun to do a power rankings here. Which NHL team needs Connor Bedard the most? And this isn't just me weighing in here. I asked you guys through our community tab. I put up a poll with 4 different teams, the lowest teams in the standings, and you cast your votes there. Over 420 votes. That's a number that we strive for on this channel. And plenty of you left some comments down below, so we'll be sure to spotlight those. But if you didn't get a chance to leave a comment, please do type one down below this video here. Which team do you think needs Connor Bedard the most and why? So in total, I have 11 teams to rank because that's the number of teams that could potentially have the first overall draft pick this year due to the draft lottery. So what I've done is I've chosen the bottom 9 teams in the standings, and I've added 2 more teams who are coming out of rebuilds. So without further ado, let's get started. At the bottom of my rankings in 11th, I have the Buffalo Sabres. That's one of the teams that's coming out of their rebuilds. So they're considered to have the best prospect pool in the NHL. Elite Prospects rank them number 1. I've seen other sites rank them number 1 as well. They have already some good center depth with the likes of Tage Thompson, who could be an MVP this year. Dylan Cousins has made a lot of progress, and their prospect pool at the center position already looks really good for them. So we're talking about Matthew Savoy, who was selected 16th overall. They also have Yuri Kulich and Noah Österlund, who can play center as well. So, and JJ Peterka, I didn't even mention him. He was ranked 26th on Daily Faceoff's top 75 prospects heading into this year. So that was pretty cut and dry. I think the Sabres, they're on the up and up. Another team that's on the up and up, but still isn't quite there, is the Ottawa Senators. Now, I ranked them 10th because they already have great center depth, right? They have Tim Stützle, who's pretty young. They have Josh Norris, another young, great center. These are point per game players. And they also have Shane Pinto, who's been called to fill a pretty large role for the Senators this year, and he's doing pretty well, ranked 21st on that same prospect list I shared just a minute ago. They also have Ridley Gregg, who is ranked 37th there. He can play center or left wing. The Senators, they should belong on this list, though, because they've been rebuilding for a number of years, and also they do have a bit of an attendance problem over the years, and I know that a lot of that has to do with the arena. But that being said, if you really wanted to put some butts in the seats and prepare for perhaps a dynasty in the 2020s, then they would draft Connor Bedard. But I don't exactly see that panning out given where they are right now in the standings. In 9th, we've got the Detroit Red Wings, another team coming out of a rebuild and actually above NHL 500 if you look at the standings. Currently, when you look at their centers, they have Dylan Larkin, but he is a UFA in the offseason. They've got Andrew Kopp, who can play on the wing as well. He's locked up long term. And when you look at the prospect pool, they have Marco Kasper, who was selected in the first round this past year. He's ranked 47th in that list. They also have second rounder Theodor Niederbach. I don't know too much about him. He's playing in the second tier league. That's the Allsvenskan in Sweden. In 8th, they received 14% of the votes in our community poll. It's the Columbus Blue Jackets, and for this, I'm going to read 2 viewer comments here. So Austin says, I don't know if we need him more than Arizona, but we definitely need one more franchise-level guy in Columbus. And then Joshua says, I'm a Habs fan, so ideally, I would love to see Bedard in the red, white, and blue, but I think the team that could use him the most would be the Blue Jackets. It would be a game changer for the franchise, and Johnny Hockey would be a great mentor. These comments certainly do play off of each other, and I think that I could agree in that the Blue Jackets need someone who's going to put butts in the seats. I don't know if they have that right now. I would say, though, that when it comes to the Blue Jackets versus some of these other teams that we'll talk about in just a moment, they're set up pretty well in terms of center depth for the next few years, in my opinion. They also have one of the stronger prospect pools here. Elite Prospects ranked them 6th out of 32 teams in the NHL. So you have Boone Jenner, the captain, for a few years. You have Jack Roslovic, a Columbus native, for another year. And then on top of that, you have 2 first-round draft picks playing center for Columbus as well. The first of which is Kent Johnson, ranked 8th on that prospects list. And also you have Cole Sillinger. So I think they're pretty set up well down the middle. Could they use a little bit more help at wing? They could use some help in goaltending, let's be honest there. So I don't necessarily see them needing Connor Bedard from that standpoint, but from a business standpoint, from a marketability standpoint, Columbus would be a great landing spot for him. All right, now in 7th, I've got the Vancouver Canucks. I thought they were going to be a playoff team this year. Anyway, BB says Vancouver needs him more than any other team in the NHL. Emphasis on the needs. And you know what? I think you do have a bit of a point here. So when I look at the Canucks, right, Bo Horvat, is he going to be signed or is he going to be traded? Considering they extended JT Miller, I know he's playing wing, but We still don't know exactly how things are going to shape up for the Canucks going forward. Elias Pettersson, I think he's pretty much a lock to be that number one center for them if they don't sign Horvat. Now, in terms of their prospect pool, it's not looking the best. They have Connor Lockhart and Dmitry Zlodiev. These are 6th-round draft picks that I know absolutely nothing about, and really there isn't anybody beyond that. Now, for attendance, the Canucks are still doing fine. They're 14th in the NHL in terms of capacity filled. But look at Connor Bedard. This guy is a British Columbia native. So the marketability behind this, the face of the franchise going forward, the real game changer for the Vancouver Canucks, I could really see that happening. But the Canucks, not exactly basement dwellers in the standings just yet. They have had a horrible season nonetheless. And really, I'm not sure exactly what the direction of the franchise is going to be going forward. So there's the argument there. In 6th, this is going to surprise a lot of you out there. Because they received 16% of the votes, and I've got the Anaheim Ducks. So first of all, let's read this comment here from Matthew. Honestly, as a Knights fan, please anyone but the Ducks. They already have Zegras. Well, the Ducks, they've had a lot of top-end first-round picks over the last several seasons. They've had 4 top 10 draft picks in the last 4 years, and 7 first-round draft picks in the last 4 drafts. And as a fan of another team that we'll talk about a little bit later, I've been saying the Ducks, they've had their chance to draft top-end names already. And they also got Mason McTavish. McTavish is playing for the Ducks right now, and he's helped them kind of turn things around a little bit over the last 20 games or so. I think that he really is the face of the franchise going forward, or at least a really good complement to Trevor Zegras. And when you speak about the center depth for the Anaheim Ducks, McTavish should be that number one center going forward. Zegras, he has played center before, but he's been moved to the wing. And going forward, yes, they have Ryan Strome for a few more years at probably what will be a third-line center role. And they have Nathan Gaucher, who they selected in the first round last season as well. So there are some options there. Zegras has played center. Troy Terry has played center before as well. So even though they're having a terrible season, I don't think the Ducks need Bedard the most. They have the 3rd best prospect pool in the NHL according to these rankings here, and so they're actually set up pretty well for the next couple of seasons. It's just taking them a little bit longer to progress than I expected. Okay, quick mid-video break here, Twisters. I hope you're enjoying these rankings, and if you are, please do leave a thumbs up, because when I see that, I know I should make more content like this. One thing that I have in mind is a comparison between the draft-eligible years of Connor McDavid and Connor Bedard. I think that would be a lot of fun. And of course, I welcome your other ideas in the comments down below, so definitely use that as a sounding board. All right, enough of that. So back to the rankings. Let's go to the Montreal Canadiens. I have them ranked 5th. Yeah, I don't think too many people are talking about Montreal that much, but when I look at them, yes, they got Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. They've got Uri Slafkovsky, right? Beyond that, I don't really know the prospect pool too well. It's ranked 7th. It's pretty good. And when you look at the prospect pool, they have Owen Beck. He's ranked 65th on Daily Faceoff. And beyond that, they have Ty Smilanic. So not much beyond that. And really, when I think about the face of the Montreal Canadiens franchise going forward, would it be Cole Caulfield? Would it be Uri Slafkovsky? I'm not entirely sure. I think there's opportunity to have the absolute generational talent like Connor Bedard lead the franchise going forward. And of course, he's a face of Canadian hockey, so why not play for the Montreal Canadiens, right? So I think that that could go pretty well all together, and the Habs have a decent shot here. They have their own first-round pick, and they have the first-round pick of the Florida Panthers. So if the Panthers finish in the bottom 11 in the standings, Montreal has a couple cracks at Connor Bedard. Now let's go to number 4, and this is my San Jose Sharks. I could have ranked them maybe a little bit further ahead, but even so, I think 4th is a good landing spot for them. Dan, can't say enough about this guy. He's one of our community moderators and an esteemed member of the Twister Wrister hockey community. So Dan says, of these 4, I would say the Ducks, right? Because we only had 4 teams to vote for there. Zegras is a one-man island out there and needs some help. I think McTavish has played a role in their improvements. I would say of the teams not listed, it's going to be the San Jose Sharks. They need to get more butts in the seats. Of course, the Shark Tank was one of the best buildings in the NHL from the mid-2000s or the mid-aughts through the 2010s, but right now, they're actually the 2nd worst team in attendance by capacity percentage. I think that what's keeping me from putting the Sharks further ahead in the rankings is that they already have some decent center depth, although I think a couple of these players could be on the decline by the time someone like Connor Bedard really starts to make his mark in the NHL. They have Tomas Hertl extended long-term, and they also have Logan Couture, who already is kind of declining a little bit. And Hertl, I just haven't seen it quite from him this season. This has really been Timo Meier's year out of the forward group. And Nico Sturm has been a bright spot for this team as well, but he's really more of a fourth line center. He's locked up for another 3 years. The Sharks have a couple of highly ranked centers or guys who can play center. First of all, Thomas Bordeleau from the University of Michigan. He's played in the World Juniors before. He's ranked 42nd on that list that I talked about earlier. And also you have William Eklund, although I see him probably fitting in as a left winger instead of a center. Although he's played center before, he's ranked 19th. There's also Philip Biestedt. Don't forget about him. He was projected to go maybe in the 3rd round or late 2nd round last year, but the Sharks drafted him 27th overall, and they might have been on to something here because Biestedt, he's been doing really well in the SHL in Sweden this year, and he put up 10 points in 7 games at the World Juniors. So the Sharks actually might be okay down the middle, but really, when it comes to the overall prospect pool, there's still some work to be done. They were ranked 11th in elite prospects. Now for 3rd in the rankings with 47% of the vote from you guys, I have the Arizona Coyotes. Let's go to Metalhead here, horns up. So Metalhead says, I'd love to see him as a senator, but this is almost certainly not going to happen. Out of these 4 teams, I'd like to see him join the Coyotes because it's a shame a team with such awesome jerseys sucks. But I feel like he's going to end up with the Blue Jackets or the Ducks. All right, so let's focus on the Coyotes here. Connor Bedard wearing that Kachina jersey. The Coyotes, could they use a face of the franchise going forward? Absolutely, they are lacking some star talent. Although, let's be fair, Clayton Keller doesn't get talked about enough. He's a winger, though. So anyway, speaking of centers, they might actually have that face of the franchise with Logan Cooley, who was selected 3rd overall last draft. Remember, he was drafted before Shane Wright. And also, you have Connor Geekie, who is 46th in the Daily Face-Off prospect rankings. You have Barrett Hayton, who's finally starting to kind of come into his own. He's been given a lot of opportunity this season. Nick Schmaltz has played center before, but now is actually on the wing for Barrett Hayton. So they do have some options there. But even so, you need that marketability. I don't know if Cooley's going to be that guy despite a great World Juniors. So Connor Bedard is kind of next level when it comes to that. You think of the Coyotes getting that new arena, right? They're going to need to secure sponsorships. They're going to need to sell merchandise. This is purely beyond ticket sales. I think that they're going to do fine when they move to that new arena, assuming it's in a better location, which it should be. Shout out to our guy, Matt, the AZ Sports guy, for his persistent coverage of that. So yeah, Connor Bedard in Arizona, why not? But there are 2 other teams that I think need Connor Bedard the most. In second, this is probably going to surprise a lot of you out there. I have the Philadelphia Flyers. You got to think about it this way, right? The success of the Pittsburgh Penguins, the success of the Washington Capitals, the rise of the New York Rangers out of their rebuild, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Islanders going to a couple of conference finals not that long ago. The Philadelphia Flyers, they've got themselves a rabid sports market out there. They need a face of the franchise going forward. They've got Cutter Gauthier, who was drafted 5th overall in the draft this past year. But beyond that, really, the Flyers, they had the 17th ranked prospect pool on elite prospects. And in terms of star talent on the team right now, they really just don't have all that much of it. Sure, they have Sean Couturier, they have Scott Laughton, but beyond that, I'm not really seeing that game-changing player beyond maybe Cutter Gauthier. And in addition to Cutter Gauthier, you got John Tortorella behind the bench. I don't think that's really enough to really put butts in the seats in Philadelphia. Their attendance has been on the decline over the past couple of seasons, so really, I would like to see, if he had to go somewhere in the Eastern Conference, I would want to see Connor Bedard as a Philadelphia Flyer. That could definitely be an unpopular opinion, and the Flyers are close to NHL 500, so it probably doesn't end up happening. But hey, let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below. And in first, they received 23% of the vote in our poll. They're first to me, though. It's the Chicago Blackhawks. So let's go to Lindsay's comment here. Honestly, don't care, just as long as Chicago or Arizona doesn't get him. Not sure exactly what the justification of that is, but let's talk about the Chicago Blackhawks. This is a team that, of course, had a dynasty in the 2010s, and ever since then, they've seen some Hall of Fame talents leave, like Duncan Keith, like Marian Hossa, and with this upcoming season, you're probably going to see Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews not in a Blackhawks jersey going into next year. They could be traded, or maybe they sign somewhere else. So you really think of it from that angle, and you also think of it this way. The Blackhawks don't have a whole lot of center depth on the team currently or in their organization. Remember, they traded Kirby Dach away to the Montreal Canadiens. They did get Frank Nazar in the draft. He's ranked 28th in Daily Faceoff's prospect rankings, so you got to give him some credit there. Beyond that, though, they need more talent just about everywhere, but especially at center, especially when you had Jonathan Toews, right? Win those 3 Stanley Cups as the captain, winning a Conn Smythe, I'm fairly certain he did. So Connor Bedard, if there's anywhere he needs to land, it's with an original 6 club, it's with the Chicago Blackhawks, and hopefully reviving a franchise that really has just been on the ropes, right? Over the past several seasons, attendance has been dropping, And the United Center, we know what that place can be like when they fill up all 22,000 seats or whatever it is. So the Chicago Blackhawks need Connor Bedard the most, but that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below, and let me know, do you think there's a good chance that maybe Adam Fantilli or Leo Carlsson could go first overall? So be sure to sound off down there. Also, a huge thanks to everybody who submitted their NHL goal horn rankings. If you want to be part of that, jump on that ASAP. Look at the pinned comment down below. I've provided a link where you can fill that out. We've got 42 responses, trying to get to 50, so let's get it going, guys. And as always, I encourage you to follow me on social media. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Nick_Pinkerton. And I'm also on Instagram, where you can see cute pictures of my dog Cortana, and also the newest addition to our household, that is my cat Carly. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you so much for watching. Remember, leave a thumbs up. I'll catch you guys later with more rockin' content.